some parents have expressed concern that sharing their own history with their kids in some way will basically give their kids permission to kind of behave the same way. And so what advice do you give to parents when it comes to them sharing their sexual history with their kids?
Truthfully, I think it can only help your kids to be honest about your
Agreed.
experiences, because you can speak from experience and say, this thing hurt me. Like, it hurt me, and it hurt my marriage. It hurt my future marriage. Like, it hurt my relationships with other people. It hurt my relationship with the Lord. Like, this hurt me. I thought I was having fun. I thought I was just doing what I wanted, and I was free to do it. But it actually was painful, and it hurt me. I didn't realize how much it hurt me until, I was older, but it's really caused harm in my life. And so I think if you can tell your kids that you have walked in the same footsteps, or that they're walking in your footsteps that you have already walked, I don't think you're doing any favors by keeping your story a secret, because you have really the clout to say, I have done this, I have seen this, I've experienced this, so I know what I'm talking about, as opposed to pretending like you didn't and just telling them not to do something. Again, goes back to that why not do it? Because this happened. This is how it affected me. And I've seen this happen to me or my husband or your dad. And being able to share that, I think, is invaluable.
I cannot agree with you more. And so I think that was the question. That was the question I was supposed to ask you before you came on, to make sure that we were on the same page, so that you didn't say something totally counter to. But I've been busy, okay? So I'm so glad that you answered it that way. And I'm just kidding, you guys. We don't actually do that. I don't know what Trevor does, but
censor.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, I hope as I'm writing that, I was so curious, because I know you do such good work with women and teens, and so I wanted you to share your perspective on this. But I was curious, would you say the same thing? Because I am such a diehard believer that we don't keep our stories, and yes, share them age appropriately. But if we have this mindset of, oh, it's gonna, I don't want to expose them to that, the world is going to teach them. They're going to learn from somebody. So if it's not coming from us, then they are absolutely going to learn from the world. And my boys, because I was a teen mom and I had my twins at 18 years old, they tried like 3 times to throw that in my face when they say, oh, we're going to Boise for state with a bunch of friends, girls and boys in a van, and we're getting 2 hotel rooms, and the cool mom's taking us. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm okay with that, and I need to call the cool mom and be talking about what this looks like. And they're like, Mom, we're 19. You had us at 18. We're already doing better than you, which I do say that to myself. Like, okay, good job. I at least graduated them, and,
you got them past 18.
I beat all those naysayers. But they say it in a joking way, and I can tell that my stories with them have done more good. And then I'll say, yeah, exactly. I know exactly what path I took to be pregnant with twins at your age, going to state with a bunch of people in the van, so I need to talk to the mom and figure things out. And then I've seen it with my daughter, like I said, kind of escaping something that could have been a terrible ring, like child sex ring type thing. And then same with my other child, just like when I share things at age appropriate levels, all I've seen it do is bring out more conversation and have them come to me within 24 hours of that happening to them, which is unfortunate because I feel like I'm such a guarded mom. I don't let them, go into people's houses that I don't know, but things can happen anywhere. I mean, daylight, anywhere. So in your bedroom, because you're online. And so just making sure that we're having those conversations. And then with the twins, I said the same thing that you said, kind of about the clout. Like, okay, you are literally my little offspring. And the first time I shared that, I've told the story before about Kairos. He was like, what? You haven't done anything. You're just a Christian mom, And I was like, no. I've done all the things. And that's why I'm here to tell you that I get where you're coming from. And I think that just took him and I to a really deep level of, transparency and conversation, and just, I think it opened his eyes. Like, I'm a normal person. If you have me up on a pedestal, if you have anybody on a pedestal besides Jesus, they're going to let you down terribly, and you're just going to feel like you can't talk with them. So yeah, parents, tell your stories. And another thing is you kind of have to be able to tell your story in a coherent way. You know, if you haven't worked through your story, then it's going to come out in like daggers. Before I worked through my story, I would just be like, no, you can't spend the night there. You can't do this. And then once I told the boys more of what happened to me in my childhood sexual curiosity that I had when I was little, they're like, well, now some of your crazy rules make more sense. And I felt like that was a victory. Like my crazy rules make sense. Okay. But I had to work through my story first.
Well, and I think that that is such a huge part of it too. And because when we work through our stories, it also gives us the language to use to convey that information. Because the way that you said, Crystal, that this hurt me, you know, that this created pain in my life. And I thought I was having fun, but this is the fallout from what that experience created in me, that even as an adult, I still carry that. I was also a super protective parent when my kids were little. And even just recently, one of my sons was saying something about that. Like, yeah, you never let us do anything and you never let us spend the night. And I was able to say to him, you know what? Sometimes pain and trauma can happen to you in like 2 minutes and you never get that 2 minutes back ever. And it totally changes your life forever. And as an adult, and he's married, but for him, even just the expression on his face was that he could totally understand what I was saying in a way that he couldn't understand when he was young, you know, a teenager, and all I was doing was restricting his fun. But for him to be able to recognize that that's what it looks like. You know, you might not understand it when you're a kid, but your parent, when they put all these crazy rules in place, it's because they're trying to protect you from something that you have no idea the damage and pain that it can create. Yeah, absolutely.
The world is a big, scary place. But I think the more we vocalize things, the more we just call it out and not be afraid of it.